Jax made Brittany move out, knowing he was not going to care for Cruz full time. So therefore, he made his son, who is autistic, move out. Then he stopped paying the mortgage. So while he let Brittany pay for Airbnbs with a pool because she wanted him to have some normalcy and routine and comfort, Jack stopped paying the only bill he is responsible for on their family home. Well, who does that affect? His son. Then, while Cruz is in the home, Jax rages out, turns over furniture. Brittany ends up hurt in the process. And Jax has said, "Thank God my son wasn't in the room." You don't think he heard that? You don't think he heard crashes and yelling? Okay. Then as a consequence for his actions, he has to go to rehab. And while he is packing up, telling Brittany that she ruined his life, he has the nerve to say, "You don't pay any bills on this house. You don't pay the mortgage at all." Knowing he hadn't paid the mortgage in months, while Brittany was paying for rental homes for their son. I don't care how nice Jax is when he's with Cruz, and I know he loves Cruz. He's not a good father. He doesn't get to call himself a good father. Even when Brittany offered for him to stay in the rental home she'd already paid for so that she could move back in with Cruz, Jax refused. That's not what you do. This is not a good father. Okay, I got a lot to say about this. Okay. Hi, welcome back to She's Speaking, guys. Today we're talking about the Valley, in case you couldn't tell. Before I get into all of that, though, please make sure you are subscribed and following the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, give it a like, give it a comment. All right, let's do it. Jasmine and Melissa picking up Zach from LAX is love. If anyone has been to LA and knows LAX still to this day terrifies me, and they've done things to make it better, but it is just not pleasant, not a fun time. Zach is returning he did a road trip from Texas to Kentucky with Benji. Benji met Zach's parents. They're officially boyfriends. But Benji, I didn't realize he's still married technically. And I just love Zach. He's just such a petty little asshole. He's like, by the way, I am prettier than his husband and younger. Respect. Anyway, Nia and Michelle do a kid play date. I gotta say, Michelle is maybe one of the most boring people I've ever watched on television. Like when she talks, I'm just like, this is hard. It's hard for me to get into it. But she says something kind of odd. She says that Isabella, her daughter with Jesse, said to her, "I know you were married, Mommy, and I know it didn't work out. Mommy, if you want to get married to Aaron, Jesse has to go." I'm like, did she say Jesse or Dad? I'm like, that's kind of insane. Like, what? Why is Isabella saying that? It struck me as so bizarre. And I don't want to say anything about Aaron, but Michelle is so sure about Aaron and is basically going to marry the guy already. And that's a lot for Isabella, isn't it? Isn't that kind of a big deal? But then she's getting mad at Jesse for moving fast with the girlfriend. I'm not trying to say I'm on Jesse's side. I'm just like, Michelle's confusing me a little bit. It's like just moving very fast. But also like, why would Isabella say that Jesse, instead of saying Dad has to go? Because then that also makes it crazy. Like, what if she had said Dad has to go? I'm like, well, modern families, maybe I just don't get this is how you handle divorces. I don't think my parents necessarily handled it great. I wasn't as young as Isabella, though. Moving on to the very important moment here. Jason, Luke, and Danny go and get lunch. This is this is so strange. I don't want to say that Jason is just like doing Janet's bidding, because what that's doing is then like taking all the blame off of Jason and making his own choices and saying what he says and blaming Janet. And I don't want to blame Janet for everything, even though it's not hard to do. But I think that what Janet does is she's so convincing and she's so good at getting people riled up and like on her side. Because I feel like if you're trying to be Janet's friend or you're her partner or whatever, you want to please her and like agree with her. She just really reminds me of like a bully I knew in high school who just they're dynamic and you kind of always want to please them. And when I look back on behavior that I was doing with them and around them, I'm like, why did I think they had so much power? But I feel like Janet's done a really good job of convincing Jason that this is a huge deal, because she's probably talking about it constantly. So now here Jason is, and what he opens with is the whole Janet being uncomfortable with the pantry tequila situation. And that just seems so silly. It just seems so silly that Janet has taken it to this level where now we're having another conversation. And Jason's clearly going to tell him, like, you've got a problem because of this whole pantry situation that you put my wife in. And it's like, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal now. You know, the Jasmine thing does and is, but they're going to deal with that. But the way Janet is spinning this like it's now her cause, like she's a personal victim of his drinking, is just absurd. Jasmine, if she can figure it out with Danny and she feels good about it, that's all you should be really worried about. But now that you got Jason here, first he's got to open with this silliness about the pantry. And like I said, yeah, it would be weird. It's maybe weird. And I can tell he was trying to sneak the alcohol for sure. But okay, what exactly are we supposed to do? Like, what is Danny supposed to do with this? You're not the one he needs to answer to, really. It's Jasmine. And so what are you doing, Jason? What are you doing? Like, it's so silly. It's like you chugged a bottle in a closed pantry, dude. I do think, though, Danny is defensive. He's like, I wasn't drunk at all. I was not. I did not get drunk. Yes, you did. You did. It's okay. And Jason's like, well, you were drunk enough that you couldn't make dinner, dude. All right. He goes, I had a shot and a White Claw, and I was going to take a nap regardless. I'm like, probably not. But okay, Danny says what's weird about this is that in Santa Barbara, Jason seemed fine with it. I guess Jason said in the after show, though, that like I'm allowed to have an experience and then later be like, that was weird, actually. But in the hot tub, when they're up in Santa Barbara, he says, if Janet got wasted and passed out, I probably wouldn't be like, oh, she's wasted and passed out. I'd probably be like, oh, she's sleeping. So it's not that big a deal. But also that moment must have been when Danny woke up from the long nap he took and they were all fighting. And so he was out like trying to figure out like, what's going on? Is it that big of a deal? And so maybe Jason was like, not really. But also maybe Jason hadn't got his briefing from Janet, because Janet was going to be like, no, it's a very big deal. We're going to make a very big deal about this. And Jason's like, oh, copy that. Got to make a bigger deal out of it. Okay. But then Jason goes way harder than I thought he was going to go. But I guess, again, what was the point of this conversation? He goes, I thought you were going to be a little bit more like, oh, shit, I messed up. But since that isn't the case, it makes me feel like there's something bigger going on. What? Oh my, I was like, I clutched. I'm like, you said that to his face? Oh my goodness gracious. But then I'm telling you, I think Jason realized that the whole pantry incident was just really not enough to base this on. So then he pulls the Jasmine thing into it. But it's like, that's not your fight. Jason, this isn't your fight at all. And he says, well, Jasmine felt triggered by the fact that the last time she saw you in that state, you know, things happened, you know, it's like a little PTSD. And then he makes this face at Danny, because Danny looks probably again kind of like, why are you bringing this up on camera again? And he goes, well, do you know what I'm talking about? You know, because I mean, you apologized to her for it. You know, she still feels a certain way about it, though. So Danny, I think, handled this as well as he could have, honestly. He's like, I had no idea. You're telling me this, and I'll have another conversation. And they do. And it's exactly what I thought was going to happen. I'm like, I have a feeling a conversation with Jasmine and Danny is coming up and it's looming, which is why I didn't go too hard on Nia or on Danny last week, because I was like, I think that this will get resolved. I think that Jasmine will be heard. But anyway, Jason, you can see Jason getting more and more flustered too. He's like, I still don't feel like you took full responsibility. You're going to, I guess, which is great. I just think that the connection is very apparent between what you're doing and your drinking. Danny's like, he sees where this is going and he tries to shut Jason down and he has to shut his ass. He's like, stop interrupting me. Shut your mouth. All right. He's like, you just said I have to do more when I've gone to Jasmine numerous times and apologized. I'm going to do it again. But why are you coming at me implying I have a drinking problem? Like what he's saying is like, if this is the issue, if me with Jasmine and them is the issue, because this seems to be the only other example you guys have. You got the pantry incident and you got Jasmine, and that's bad. Jasmine and Melissa, that's bad for sure. But that's it. And then they kind of keep bringing up last season, and I'm like, yeah, he was annoying and drunk. It was difficult. He's not a good drunk. Okay. I can say that maybe he has a relationship with alcohol, but the way you guys are trying so hard to spin this, because I'm telling you, Sheena got it. Sheena and Janet kind of planted this in their minds at the end of last season when they were doing press and doing podcasts and stuff after the first season came out. And Janet was so pissed because she was, the villain. And she's like, not fair. I shouldn't have been the villain. And Sheena's like, I got you, girl. Well, Nia and Danny, they're not so perfect. Great. And look, Nia and Danny are still, they're showing up, and it's not like they are, the way they've handled it has kind of surprised me. I know that I have commentary on the way Danny handles it, but I still feel like they are still arriving to the parties and filming the scenes and having the conversations. They're not running from it. They're not being weird about it. Maybe they're being weird about it, but they're confronting it. It's not like they're running away being like, cameras off. They're not doing any of that stuff. So I'm like, okay, guys, what else do you want from them? What else do you want? But anyway, so what Danny's line is, I just don't understand why you're coming at me implying that I have a drinking problem. That's just not cool, man. And Jason just kind of smug. He goes, I disagree. With what? But I'm so happy to know that they get over it. That makes me so happy. When someone says peace of mind, I laugh. Because what even is that? Well, I got to try cornbread CBD gummies, and I now understand. Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies are formulated to help relieve discomfort, stress, and sleeplessness. I have to say, I've tried many a gummies, and these are the most pleasant feeling, if that makes sense. They only use the best part of the hemp plant, the flower, so it's pure and potent CBD. And all products are third-party lab tested and USDA organic. I underestimated their sleep CBD gummies because it honestly takes a tranquilizer to knock me out. I ate one at like 3 p.m. thinking, it'll probably make me kind of relaxed. But I knocked out on the couch and woke up around 6, a little confused, but not mad at it. I never nap. Right now, She's Speaking listeners can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/shespeaks and use code SHESPEAKS at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/shespeaks and use code SHESPEAKS. Okay, now moving on to Brittany. All right. She's throwing her little shark party, but earlier this day that we're watching in this scene is when she had gone to see Jax to let Jax see Cruz, but also Jax was like, I want to have a chat with you too with my therapist there. Now this therapist these are the rehab people, okay? What fucking rehab is this? What facility is this? Okay, what the hell are you people doing? You let him sign a lease. Well, first, before they even get into that, Brittany talks about how Jax uncovered all the cameras, that he was the one who originally covered them to hide girls from Brittany. Okay, that's that, which is vile. And Brittany goes, so you know how he would text me saying, I know that you're wearing red pants and a red shirt. I have eyes and ears everywhere. He wants her to feel like people are watching her while he's in rehab. That's abusive. Period. Okay? It is. That is a scary control. And so then Brittany goes, yeah, and he's telling me, oh, I want us to start fresh and start dating each other again. Okay, whatever. So I really don't think it's a good idea for me to go back to the house. And so I was like, okay, I have a 3-month lease already signed and paid for up front. And he's like, well, I already signed a lease to a condo. He's moving in next door to Tom Schwartz. Brittany goes, he's a terrible human being. I am seeing him for who he really is, finally. And I was right there with her. I don't want him to get out either. I would want him to be in actual jail too. Just keep him. I feel like we're all safer, honestly, if he is just locked up and incarcerated. I'm not even kidding. He is, How does he have his phone so much? What is this place? And this is the place he goes back to and leaves early from again. When we get to when I get to the after show after the main recap, we'll go further into this because he's kind of evil. He kind of is, right? All right, Danny, Jasmine, and Melissa get drinks. I really loved this scene. I'm glad that they did it on camera. I'm not mad about it. I know people have been saying Jasmine is dragging it out. Maybe she is, but I think that Danny didn't know that this is why this means so much to me. And so Danny's obviously very uncomfortable. He's very, very uncomfortable and doesn't really know. He's like, Jason said that you still seem to have some unsettling feelings about this. And so I just want to be here. And it's hard for Jasmine to say it, but she says, like, as women dating women, you are constantly kind of having to defend your relationship. Like when we go out, it's like, oh, prove you're really together, like kiss or whatever. And so Melissa says, if I was a guy or if she was a guy, it just would be very different. Like if Danny had done that to Janet, what would Jason have done? Like if Janet was uncomfortable, which she would have been, by the way. Oh my, actually, I just thought about that. Can you imagine if he did it to Janet? Can you imagine if he did it to Janet? Oh my God. Actually, yeah. See, just put it in that perspective, Danny. Put it in that. Think about if you did it to Janet. Okay. Can you imagine? But when Danny hears this, he's like, wow, I didn't think of it like that. And I'm glad you brought it up to me because it's not cool. You have to defend your relationship all the time. And I feel really awful about that. And he says in his confessional, I hadn't put myself in their shoes. And I feel horrible that it went that far for them. And I loved when Danny says, we're here for you guys. And she's like, we're here for you guys too. I was like, this is great. This is wonderful. I really, yeah. Like I've said 100 times, with Danny's drinking, I don't feel like he's out of control like Jax or Jesse even, Or it's just, you can't stop them no matter what. They're just going to keep going. And they almost, like the way Jesse was drinking in Santa Barbara felt like defiant, felt like he was like, watch me type of vibe. And Danny has that too. Danny does get that way too. Someone said he's a binge drinker. And yes, binge drinker. But yeah, he clearly has some relationship with alcohol that isn't just, nothing. But it's not worth where Janet has taken it and Jason have taken it. So, well, not to fear everyone because Kristen is here. So Kristen, Luke, and Jesse go to one of my favorite places, And Waffles. Love their food. Okay. Love, love, love. The coffee beverage that Kristen was drinking, though, is so sweet. I don't know how she was sipping on it, but I recognize that. But yeah, love And Waffles. Ampersand waffles, which is, I'm like, such a choice. Anyway, so Kristen is hearing all about how Jason was coming so hard for Danny. And Kristen's like, look, this is some bullshit because she's thinking about the show. Kristen thought she could take a season off. But she knew Nia and Danny were not going to respond with the level of petty this whole thing deserved. So she's like, don't worry, I got this. We're on camera and watch me say this. Keep your wedding ring on all the time, and then you can start talking. Honestly, that doesn't even sound remotely serious at all. But Kristen, naturally, in her soul, in her being, she does shit like this. Okay? It comes naturally to her. And Luke, who's logical, is like, why would you do this? It's just going to create more drama. Kristen's like, it'll be fine. It's such a mild rumor. It's literally barely a thing. But now what she's done is make it so now you guys have to answer, Janet and Jason. Now you have to answer these personal probing questions and defend your relationship like you're making Nia and Danny do. Like how Janet tried to slip in there. If you ever need to talk, Nia, I'm here for you. I dated someone with a drug and alcohol problem, so I can relate. We all saw what you did there, Janet. We all saw. So that's all Kristen did. Kristen just said, all right, no one else is going to do it, so I will. Maybe he needs to keep his wedding ring on. It's a baby. It's a baby rumor. She could have gone real far with it, but she's like, I don't really have anything on him, but this is fine. Fine. It was more for Janet. It was less to go for Jason. It was like, how do you like it, Janet? How do you like it? Now you have to defend it. Okay? So I support it fully. Jessie, though, is like, Kristen is christening. And she did this with him last season and Michelle. So Jessie's like, even though we've got a little alliance going here, I'm not blind. I know who Kristen is. I know what she's about. All right, it's time for Brittany's shark party. Zach gets this, what should be a shark bite thing, but it is not that. It does not look like a shark bite. It doesn't look great. It looks like, I don't want to say it. It looks gross. It looks really gross. I don't love the thing that Zach does either with like the spray painted abs costume themes that he does. I'm like, okay, it just kind of weirds me out. But that's okay. That's okay. Jasmine, she keeps going back to this thing with Jessie, where she keeps trying to prove that Jessie has feelings for Michelle. And so she even says it to him. She said it when they were in Santa Barbara. Now she's saying it to him. She's like, do you think you still have feelings for her? Like, stop asking him because he's not going to say yes. And I'm sort of with Zach. I don't think it's feelings, like romantic feelings, because that's like making Jessie seem too kind, like he's capable of just loving someone. It's more like, fucking bitch, I can't control her anymore. It's like, that was the person I was able to control. And I had it over her that we got married, so you got to be in this marriage forever and blah, blah, blah. And now I can't. And now she's not doing what I want. That's what it feels like. Because I don't think he looks at Michelle with love. It's like a possession that he needs to get control over and hates that he doesn't have control. But Jasmine keeps thinking, she's like, I think he has feelings. I'm like, that's too kind. That's too romantic of a way to look at it. But Jason pulls Danny to apologize. And you know what? I loved it. I love an apology. I do. He's like, first, I want to say I'm sorry and I'm an asshole. And he has tears in his eyes. He's like, I really value our friendship a lot. And so he's like, I was over the top. I apologize. And Danny's like, well, I love you and we're good. We're still boys. And they bro hug. And I was like, oh, yay. Okay, cool. Well, Janet's about to ruin it. Well, actually, more like Kristen is. That's okay. For some fucking reason, though, Jessie goes up to Lala to try to have a moment with Lala. And he's like, how far along are you? Or whatever. And I just was like, since when? Like, why would you do that? Like, he thought he could come up and be like, I want more kids. And she's like, fuck you. But what's great about this is that Sheena sees that there's a scene happening and just goes and stands next to Lala, says nothing, says 0. I'm assuming she thought what it looked like she was doing was like providing Lala with comfort, which, okay, I guess. But it really just looked like she was trying to make sure she was in the shot. Which, at this point now, I kind of can't. Like with Sheena, I'm just like, what else is she going to do, guys? What else is Sheena going to do? Like let her have this. I'm at that point where I'm like, let's just laugh at it. She's shameless about it. I'm not obviously listening to it. Like Lala said something about how he's a narcissist or whatever. But good for them. Good for them. Moving on. Jesse just shakes it off and he's like, okay, thanks. And then he goes and pulls Jason aside and he's like, there is a conversation, something to do with you. Kristen is going to bring it up. He's like, I know Kristen. I had this happen to me. He's like, I don't want you to feel blindsided. Jason asks a very important question. Why am I friends with these people? Thank you, though, for all being friends, because this group of these friends would be in existence without the show. And so I am just fortunate that they let us see it, because I know that this is the type of shit that they'd be doing anyway. Jason then goes up to Zach and he's like, hey, is Kristen mad at me about something? And Zach goes, right now? And then just walks out. He's like, oh, like right now? And just leaves. Just walks. He's like, and just walks out the door. Okay, now producers must have like gathered Luke, Kristen, Janet, and Jason together, because now they're all sitting together and Jason's like, so Jesse told me Kristen has something she wants to talk to me about. He goes, just take the Band-Aid off fast. What have I done? And Luke goes, Jasmine heard that you take your ring off sometimes at bars. And Jason's like, never, ever, ever done that in my life. And I'm actually so happy that this is what it is, by the way. Because, I bet he's like, Kristen will go there. So he's like, how deep has Kristen taken this into the gutter? Because Kristen could have been like, I heard he fucked someone. You know what I mean? This is just the ring. So it's like not that big a deal. Well, then Janet calls Jasmine over, saw that coming. When Jasmine said, I heard this like 2 years ago or whatever. 2 years ago. This is such old news, right? And Jason's like, wait, you knew me when I was single? I didn't even hit on women then. So now I'm hitting on people now that I'm married? And Kristen goes, I said it out loud because I was super frustrated because I thought you were going after Daniel so hard. And so then Janet goes, okay, can I ask you this? Are you sorry you blurted that out? Because you know us, you know Jason really well. Do you really think he's a guy that goes to a bar and takes his ring off to try to appear single? And Kristen goes, I haven't been friends with you guys in a while. Jason just breaks it down. He goes, so it's like Jason's going off on Danny. So what have I ever heard about him? And Luke goes, essentially, yes. It's true, though. He's like, yep. Luke's like, I didn't want it to happen. I did not want it to happen. I was hoping that we could just like cut this out. Janet goes, to repeat rumors like that is not cool. And all I want from you right now is I know that you know that Jason's a good guy and you're sorry for saying it out of anger. And that's it. Kristen's like, I'm not going to do that. Kristen's like, okay, not happening. I don't know if this is because I've always been an anxious person, but when I hear something can help my gut, I'm always interested. A balanced gut microbiome is like my holy grail, except I don't love the idea of changing everything I eat in order to get there, Z-Biotics Sugar to Fiber converts some of the extra sugar from the food you're already eating into a beneficial prebiotic called Levan. This is a genetically engineered probiotic drink. Sugar to Fiber produces an enzyme called Levan sucrose. It breaks down sugar into its molecular building blocks and then stacks those blocks back together to make fiber. Science! So I have started drinking Z-Biotics Sugar to Fiber every day because I like having a way to get closer to my daily recommended dose of fiber without needing to change my diet. So sugar to fiber is actually taking something that I'm eating and changing it to a different route, a healthier outcome. I don't have to add something to my new routine. I used to add a pack of sugar to fiber in my smoothies, but I haven't been doing smoothies. So now I just get a big mason jar full of really cold water and add a pack to that. Gut health is very important to me. Adding sugar to fiber to my daily routine is easy, and it helps ensure that I'm getting the diversity of fiber my body needs. Go to zbiotics.com/shespeaks and use She Speaks at checkout for 15% off any first-time orders of ZBiotics probiotics. ZBiotics has a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode. Whenever I would say things like, oh, I can't go do that activity because my knees will hurt, my feet will hurt, my hips, someone inevitably says, you just got to find the right shoes. And I'd be like, what shoes? Tell me. And I tried all of the suggestions and would still end up struggling in the same amount of pain until Vionic sponsored this podcast and changed my life with the shoes. Vionic shoes revolutionized medical orthotics. But see, when I say that, don't you immediately think of the ugliest shoe? Wrong. The shoes are chic. I have the Uptown Willa, which is part sneaker, part moccasin, very streamlined. I have the Uptown Loafer, which is part loafer, part sneaker. Oh, so cute. And my babies, the Monarch sneaker with the leopard print detail. Oh my God, I love those shoes so much. But these shoes legit have changed the way I can walk around and move in this world. For anyone who's had chronic pain in their body, you can relate when activities get suggested and you're like, I don't know if I can handle all that walking. Enter Vionic shoes. Changed the game. Listen to me. Go to vionicshoes.com and use code SHESPEAKS at checkout for 15% off your entire order. When you log into your account, one-time use only. Vionic shoes are wearable well-being for your feet. Brittany is like, hey guys, I need to have another scene here. So she calls the girls and Zach around to hear the story again about how Jax got, well, they didn't all hear it. Only Kristen heard it. But Jax got the condo the condo, right? By Tom Schwartz. And Brittany says, my biggest fear is he's going to try to just stick me with the $14,000 a month mortgage. And that's exactly what's happened. Sheena's like, time for a lawyer. And Britt's like, next week, I'm going next week. I thought that was the end of the episode, but oh no, we're not done. Jasmine and Britt go to Jax's, which is dead, the bar. Dead. And also looked real sad. Like the pillows looked like kind of, like it looks divey, but I guess that's the look they were going for. But Schwartz joins them, which I'm like, interesting, because this was like planned by production. You know, they're like, why this combination? I'm not mad at it, just like, interesting. And Schwartz goes, yeah, I text with Jax today, aka Mr. Work in Progress. He seems very at peace and serene. Huh? Brittany's like, no, please tell me what he's telling you, because I would love to know. He's saying it's done wonders for his mental health and that with his diagnosis and his new medication, he feels like he has a whole new perspective on life. That's cute. Is that what he said? That's adorable. She said, well, I found out yesterday he has not paid our mortgage since May, which is interesting. I don't think she realized, because in the after show, she says that when she moved out January 24th, he stopped paying in February. So it was even more. It was even longer. I've seen people criticizing Brittany for not knowing about it. And yeah, I can criticize her for that too. The only thing I'm going to give her some slack on, though, is that she was trying to get her and Cruz in rental homes. And since Jax was staying at the house and he's always paid the mortgage, because she talks about, so let's get to the after show. What she says is he would pay the mortgage and she would pay all the other bills, like literally every other expense, like Cruz's clothes, school supplies, groceries, water, power, electricity, all those bills, like every other bill. And so she's like, it would pretty much come out to be about the same, which I can believe. And the reason their mortgage was that high, she said at one point she was paying $8,000, but because of his tax issues, now she's paying like $18,000. And you know what Jax had to say about his tax issues? He said, my taxes weren't paid in 6 years. You can say, why didn't you pay it? Well, I didn't have the money to pay it, so I just kind of let it ride. People make mistakes in taxes all the fucking time, every single day. I learned my lesson. I had to remortgage, but here we are. I fixed it. I made it clean, and now we're good. Well, I'm so sorry. No, you didn't. You doubled, more than doubled what the mortgage was. And Brittany is then, but of course, in his mind, he's like, well, I'm paying the mortgage, so it's on me anyway. Well, now she has to pay it. Okay, about Jax signing a lease. This is what Jax says. He says, instead of going into an apartment, which he's done looking at Schwartz, he's like, he told me it was miserable. He went into a funk. He went into a whole funk. I couldn't do that. I couldn't go into a funk. So I was like, how am I going to go into an apartment? And then this building came up. And he has the fucking nerve to be like, I was thinking of my kid. I don't want my son jumping from Airbnb to Airbnb. I still stand by it. Bullshit. She had already been jumping from Airbnb to Airbnb before you went into the rehab. And now when you're in the rehab, and again, how the fuck did they let him do this? How do these people not want to get a full picture? I mean, I can't. So the people there were like, this is a great idea. This is a smart plan. Brittany will be so appreciative. Not one of them thought to be like, check in with Brittany first? Not one of them? Come on, guys. But then he goes, oh my God. He goes, mind you, she was living in mansions, okay? It was not like she was living in a little shack. She was moving from Airbnb, but they were beautiful homes. So let's make that very clear. What are you making clear? She said she wanted to get homes with the pool. And your son is autistic. She doesn't want to move into an apartment with him. She's like, this is too much. What are you talking? Oh God, I can't stand him. Oh my God. And then he goes, I mean, honestly, I look back on it now and I still think I made the right move. I was 17 days in a 30-day stint. Like, okay. Just wording it like that. He's like, where the hell was I going to go? And then he's like, I didn't know she was signing a 3-month lease on an Airbnb. I was unaware of this. Should I have asked her ahead of time? Yeah, I probably should have. But then Jessie goes, I think it was a control thing for her. She's like, oh, here's Jax trying to control me again by putting a plan together without telling me. I'm like, I don't understand who you're saying is the control. Was Brittany being the controlling person? Was what Jessie, don't chime in. Don't even bother chiming in, okay? When Brittany said that she offered, like, you can stay in the rental property, let Cruz and me come back home, and Jax still said no. She's like, I've already paid for it. You don't have to pay. He still said no. I'm just, I'm sorry. But wait, let's talk about Jessie, though, and we'll end on Jessie, because, so, I'm just so fascinated with this man. He's such a psychopath. This is just like their little segment of the after show. He goes, Michelle has the narrative, I'm a very controlling person. I did run a lot of aspects of our life. Her idea of control is she would go out when we were separated. She started going out every single night. I doubt that, by the way. She would come through the front door and I would say to her, I have to get up at 2:00 in the morning, make sure it's locked, check on Isabella. You're a young girl coming home. Anybody could follow you home from a restaurant or a bar. I'm like, okay, what? He goes, so I was going crazy. And I said another thing. I was like, you don't have to tell me who you're going with, but you should tell me where you're going and what time you'll be home. And she goes, no, my brother said I don't have to do that. That's just you trying to control me. And I'm like, no, we have a child sleeping in our house. If you're going to come home at 3, I prefer you not come home at all. But I don't need to know where you're going or who you're going with, just what time you're going to be home. And, if there's an emergency and I can't get a hold of her, at least I know where she is. Still really sounding just unnecessarily controlling. He goes, if that's control, then yes, I was controlling. It's like, but I wasn't trying to like manipulate her life or do things to hurt her or make me have some kind of control over her. As he describes wanting all this control over her. He's like, I just need to know where you're going and what time you're coming home. I also don't believe that he wasn't also going out. I'm like, oh, so just Michelle went out? You never went out ever? Not one time? Jesse, the way he tried to give Michelle shit, like, we're not going to do this whole thing with like going on trips and stuff. Meanwhile, he was the one going on the trips. So I feel like he must have gone out more than she did, but like 1 or 2 times she went out and he's like, this is out of control. We've got to have a system here. And the system is I'm going to know everything you're doing and I'm going to know what time you're coming home. And and it's funny because Jesse's sitting there saying this to Jax in the after show. Meanwhile, Jax was going out all the time. And Brittany talked about how he was coming home late next morning. He'd be out all the time. And Jax is like, yeah, no, totally. It totally makes sense that we just want to be careful like that. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, that wraps us up for today. Love you guys so much. Mean it. See you next time. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to She's Speaking with Emily Hanks. This show is produced, hosted, and edited by me, Emily, and brought to you in partnership with Cloud 10 Media. If you are looking for bonus content, check out the Patreon. The link is in the description. To show some support, you can hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Another free way to support the pod, please rate and/or review on whatever platform you listen. It's free, and it helps the algorithm or something. You can also head to buymeacoffee.com/shespeaks and buy me a coffee or 2. Make sure you're following me on all social medias. I am She's Speaking with Emily Hanks across all platforms: Threads, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. That's it. Thank you guys. See you soon.